It was a quiet night in a small town, the kind of night where even the wind seemed to sleep. John was sitting on his old wooden chair in the backyard, sipping warm tea and looking at the stars. He enjoyed silence, especially after a long day of repairing machines at his workshop. But tonight, the silence broke. He heard a sound soft, strange, almost like a baby crying. At first, he thought it was a cat, or maybe a raccoon stuck somewhere. He stood up, put down his tea, and listened. Carefully, there it was again, a soft whimper. Coming from the far corner of his backyard near the trees, his heart began to beat faster. He grabbed a flashlight and slowly walked toward the sound. The grass was wet and the air had a chill as he reached the edge of the yard. The cry became louder, more desperate, more not human. Then he saw it. Something was glowing in the tall grass. A soft blue light like moonlight wrapped in fog. John's hand shook as he pointed the flashlight at it. Lying there, wrapped in a strange silver cloth, was a baby, not a human. Baby, her skin was pale lavender, almost like glass. Her eyes were huge, glowing a deep ocean blue. She had no hair, and tiny glowing veins ran through her forehead and cheeks. Her body was thin, fragile, and trembling. John froze. He didn't know what to do. Was it a trick? A prank? Or worse, something dangerous? But the baby looked at him and stopped crying. In that moment, something changed in him. She wasn't a monster. She was scared, cold, and alone, just like any baby would be. He slowly reached down and picked her up. She was lighter than he expected. The silver cloth was warm to the touch, almost alive. The baby made a soft cooing sound and curled up against his chest. John stood there for a while, unsure what had just happened. There was no sign of a ship or capsule, no burnt marks on the ground, no strange noises from the sky. It was like someone had simply placed her there and vanished. He looked around, whispering, "Hello? Is someone there?" Hey. No one answered, only the sound of crickets and distant wind. He looked down at the baby again. She blinked slowly, her blue eyes locking with his. John knew he couldn't leave her there. He carefully walked back to his house. Closing the gate behind him, inside, he cleared a space on the old couch. He laid her down gently, wrapping her in a blanket from his closet. "What are you?" he whispered. She stared up at him with a peaceful look. He could see the silver cloth on her now, pulsing slowly, matching her breath. It was like the cloth was alive, protecting her, keeping her warm. John turned off the lights and sat beside her. His thoughts were a storm. Should he call the police? The government? The military? No. They'd take her, study her, maybe hurt her. He didn't know why. But he already felt protective. This baby, this strange creature, had been left in his care. He couldn't walk away from her. She needed help, and for now, he was the only one who could give it. That night, he barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. Every sound made him jump, afraid someone might come to take her away. But nothing happened, just the baby, glowing softly under the blanket, breathing slowly, safe for now. As the first light of morning touched the sky, John made a decision. He would keep her secret. Raise her, protect her. He didn't know who left her or why. He didn't know where she came from or what dangers might follow. All he knew was this: the cry in the night had led him to something bigger than himself. Something not from this world, and it had just begun. John never expected to be a father, especially not to an alien child. But for the next few days, his quiet life became something out of a sci-fi dream. The baby didn't cry like normal babies. Instead, she made soft humming sounds that echoed like music. When she slept, tiny stars flickered above her skin. He named her Lumi, short for luminous, because she glowed in the dark. John hid her from the world. He stopped going to the shop, turned off his phone, and pulled down the blinds. He fed her warm milk, and talked to her like she was his own. And somehow, she understood. When he smiled, she smiled. When he hummed, she hummed back. One evening, something strange happened as John sat beside her crib, tired and lost in thought. He felt the air change, the room became still, and then BZZZT. Every light flickered and died. He jumped up and grabbed a flashlight. But before he could turn it on, the lights came back brighter than ever. He turned and saw Lumi floating just a few inches above her crib. Her eyes wide open, glowing like two suns. Then she slowly floated down, and the lights dimmed. John stood frozen. What was that? Was she using powers? He took a step forward and gently picked her up. She giggled like nothing strange had happened. Over the next few weeks, more odd things happened. Whenever she got upset, electronics nearby went wild. The radio would speak in strange languages. Water would float in the air. Sometimes, John found himself thinking about something, and she'd react to it before he said a word. It wasn't just random magic. Lumi was learning faster than any human baby should. By the time she looked a year old, she was already walking and trying to talk. Her first word wasn't Dada or Mama, it was Star. She pointed at the night sky and whispered it with wonder. John knew he couldn't hide her forever, but who would believe him? And Wursu might come looking for her. Then one day, while cleaning her crib, he found something. Tucked into the folds of the silver alien cloth was a small disc. He held it up to the light. It was smooth and warm when he touched the center. It glowed and projected a floating image into the air. It showed a woman tall, silver-skinned, and glowing. Just like Lumi, she was speaking, but in a language he didn't know. Then the image changed. The woman was holding Lumi, placing her gently into something that looked like a pod. She was crying, and behind her, explosions were lighting up the sky. It wasn't a goodbye, was an escape. John's heart sank. Lumi wasn't just an alien baby. She was running from something, or someone, and now she was with him, in his home. He looked at Lumi, who was now busy drawing on the wall with her finger lines of glowing blue energy. She didn't understand her. Past yet, she didn't know what she had left behind, but soon someone would come looking. That night, John sat in the backyard again. This time, he wasn't alone. Lumi sat in his lap, pointing at stars and whispering names he didn't recognize. She placed her tiny hand on his chest and smiled. For now, she was safe, but deep down, John knew this peaceful time wouldn't last. The galaxy had already touched his backyard once, and it would return. It happened without warning. One moment, Lumi was laughing, drawing glowing shapes on the floor with her fingertips. The next, she was gone. John had only gone to the kitchen for 2 minutes to heat milk. When he came back, the living room was quiet, too quiet. Her drawings had stopped glowing. The silver cloth she was wrapped in as a baby lay folded neatly on the couch. No broken windows, no open doors, just silence. He called her name again and again. Lumi, Lumi. Nothing. Panic flooded his chest. He ran outside, searched the backyard. The woods, the road, no footprints, no energy pulse, no sound, not even the usual night birds. It was as if the universe had erased her. Days turned to weeks. John stopped eating, stopped sleeping. He reported a missing child, but he knew the truth. The world wouldn't understand her, and she didn't just run away. She was taken every night. He sat outside, staring at the stars. He remembered the way she had pointed to them, whispering names he couldn't pronounce. Had they come back for her? Had her people found her? Or worse, had the ones chasing her taken her instead? John kept the silver cloth close, wrapped in a wooden box under his bed. He watched the disc message over and over, each time hoping to see something new, some clue he missed, but the ending was always the same. The alien woman crying as the pod vanished into the void. Months passed, then years. John returned to his workshop, but he was never the same. He never fixed another machine. He just sat at the counter, staring at the sky through the window. People around town said he had lost a daughter. No one questioned it. His grief was real. No one could guess she was never from Earth, but even after 5 years, John never gave up hope. He believed, deep in his soul, that Lumi was alive somewhere. He could still feel her presence sometimes. A warm hum in the walls, a flicker of light. When he was about to sleep, it was like her energy still touched the world. Just for a moment. Then, on a stormy night, everything changed. Thunder crashed over the hills, and rain poured from the sky like a waterfall. John sat by the window, holding the silver cloth in his hands. Suddenly, boom! A flash of red tore across the sky. It wasn't lightning, it was something falling. Burning a fireball screaming through the clouds, it vanished into the forest beyond his backyard. John's heart skipped. Then came the sound, a familiar hum, deep and sorrowful. It vibrated in his bones just like it did all those years ago. He stood, slowly, as if pulled by an invisible force. He grabbed a flashlight and ran, barefoot, into the rain, through mud, over roots. Past broken branches he ran like a man chasing a ghost, and in a clearing he saw it, a cracked pod. Steaming and sparking. Next to it someone on their knees, breathing heavily, glowing faintly in the dark. John froze. She looked older now. Her figure taller, her eyes sharper, but he knew those glowing blue eyes anywhere, Lumi. He whispered. She looked up, her face full of pain, exhaustion, and something else, fear. She tried to stand, but stumbled. John rushed forward and caught her. Her skin felt cold, but alive. You came back, he said, tears mixing with rain. But she didn't answer. She placed her hand on his chest, just like she used to as a baby, and whispered the words that turned his blood to ice. They're coming. They followed me here. John had faced many strange things in his life, but nothing ever made his blood freeze like Lumi's warning. They're coming. She whispered again, before fainting in his arms. Lightning flashed above them as rain fell harder. John didn't waste a second. He lifted her up and carried her back to the house. Every step felt like a race against something he couldn't see but felt watching him. Inside, he wrapped her in dry blankets, checked her pulse, steady but weak. Her skin flickered with dim blue light, her breathing shallow. John sat beside her, waiting for her to open her eyes and thinking about what they meant. Outside, the wind howled, and far above the clouds. Something moved. An hour passed before Lumi stirred. She opened her eyes slowly, looking around in confusion. Where am I? She asked in a faint voice. John held her hand. You're home, Lumi. You're safe. With me. Her lip trembled. No one's safe now. They followed my escape pod. John leaned closer. Who are they? Lumi sat up, wincing as her body glowed with pulsing energy. They're called the Varnok, shadow hunters of the stars. They destroy what they can't control. They want my kind. And anyone who helps us. John's throat tightened. Why? You. She looked down, because I remember too much, because I carry the codes to stop them. Inside me, her hand touched her chest. They would rip it out if they could. Suddenly BZZZZZZZZCT. All lights in the house blinked, then died. A low vibration shook the floor. Like something massive just landed nearby, John grabbed the emergency lamp and ran to the window. Outside, the trees swayed unnaturally. Not with wind, but with pressure. Then he saw it, a tall figure, nearly 8 feet, standing at the edge of the woods. Its skin was dark like burned metal, and its eyes were bright red slits. Another figure stepped out, then another, then 2 more. Silent, still watching the house. They're here, Lumi whispered. standing behind John, her body now glowing brighter, her eyes locked on the window. They won't wait long. John stepped back. We need to hide. Lumi shook her head. We can't hide. They can smell my energy. They'll burn this house down. They always do. John rushed to the basement and pulled out an old metal chest. Inside were tools, wires, and leftover pieces of alien tech Lumi had left behind as a child. He dumped them on the table. We fight back. I don't care how powerful they are. We fight. Lumi looked at the pieces, her expression blank for a second, then something inside her awakened. She raised her hand, and the metal floated into the air, spinning, forming shapes. Her fingers glowed as circuits connected themselves. In seconds, she had built a defense orb, small, round, and humming with power. John's mouth dropped. You've changed. She smiled weakly. I've learned. Suddenly crash. A blast hit the outer wall of the house. Books flew, windows cracked, and dust fell from the ceiling. The Varnak were no longer waiting. They were coming. Lumi handed the orb to John. Throw this at them when they cross the threshold. He nodded, heart racing. She floated into the air, her body glowing like a star, ready to explode. John had never seen her like this. This wasn't the baby he raised. This was a warrior born from stars and sorrow. The front door creaked, shadows moved closer, and the battle for Earth's safety was about to begin. In one man's living room. The moment the front door shattered, the world changed. John had always believed his home was safe, a quiet place where time moved slow. But tonight became a battlefield. The first Varnak stepped in, tall and wide, its armor pulsing with dark energy. It made no sound, but the room shook with every step it took. John, standing behind the couch, clutched the glowing orb Lumi had given him. His hands were sweating, his heart pounding like a drum. Lumi hovered above the ground, light bursting from her fingertips, her eyes locked on the intruders with pure fire. The second Varnak entered, and behind them, 3 more shadows moved. They had come not just to take her, but to erase the memory of her existence. John didn't wait. He threw the orb. It flashed in midair, then exploded into a wave of white energy. The first Varnak screamed a sound like metal tearing through metal and crashed into the wall. Lumi raised her arms, and energy shot from her palms like lightning. The floor cracked beneath her. To Varnak charged, their claws aimed for her chest, but John jumped in front of her, swinging a metal pipe. It bounced off their armor, but distracted them long enough for Lumi to release another blast. Boom. One Varnak flew backward and hit the kitchen wall, knocking down shelves and glass. Another reached John. Its claws slashing. Lumi screamed and sent a shockwave that knocked everything back, including John. He hit the wall hard, groaning in pain. Lumi landed beside him, her voice trembling. I told you not to fight. They'll kill you. John wiped blood from his lip and smiled. Then they better hurry. I'm not leaving you. For a moment, the room went still. Then the ceiling cracked. A Varnak ship, small but deadly, hovered just above the house. Its underbelly opened, and a long cable dropped into the center of the living room. At the end of the cable was a cage, glowing, humming, and shaped perfectly for Lumi. Her face turned pale. They didn't come to fight. They came to trap me. John looked at the cage. Then, don't let them. Suddenly, a voice echoed inside the room, not from a speaker, but inside their minds. It was cold, sharp, and heavy. Starchild, surrender, or the human die slowly. Lumi froze. Her light flickered. Her hands lowered. John grabbed her wrist. No, don't listen. Don't you dare give up, she whispered. I don't want you to suffer because of me. He looked her in the eye. Then fight harder. The ship above them powered its beam. The floor began to rise, furniture lifting off the ground. Lumi screamed, but not in fear, in fury. Her body exploded with light blue, silver, and gold energy surged from her like a living storm. Windows shattered, walls cracked, and the Varnak screamed as their armor broke under the force. John covered his eyes, barely breathing, when he looked again. Lumi was floating high above the ground. The cage had melted mid-air. The cable burned to ash. Only to Varnak remained one crawling, one standing. The standing one pointed at Lumi and growled in its dark voice. "You were just a child when we found you. You should have died then." Lumi landed slowly, her eyes glowing white now. "I'm not a child anymore," she said. She stepped forward, and with a whisper, shattered the last two Varnak with a single burst of energy. Silence fell. The ship tried to escape, but she raised her hand, and it stopped mid-air. She clenched her fist, and it crumpled like paper, exploding in a cloud of fire and metal. Then she collapsed. John ran to her. Catching her before she hit the ground, she was breathing, but barely. Her light was fading. "You did it, John," whispered, tears in his eyes. Lumi looked up at him, weak but smiling. Not alone. The house was in ruins, walls cracked, furniture burned, and ash covered the floor like snow. But for the first time that night, everything was silent. No Varnak, no weapons, no ships in the sky. John sat in the middle of the broken living room, holding Lumi in his arms. Her eyes were closed, her skin dim, her breath shallow. The glow that once danced across her body had faded. It was like a star had gone to sleep inside her. He carried her to the bedroom, the only room still half standing, laid her gently on the bed, and wrapped her in the silver cloth that started it all. He whispered, "Stay with me, Lumi. Don't disappear again." For hours, he waited. No sounds, just the ticking of a broken clock that no longer kept time. John didn't move, didn't blink. He just watched her chest rise and fall, barely. Then suddenly, her eyes opened, glowing faint blue. "John," she whispered, her voice dry like sand. He leaned closer. "I'm here." She looked around at the destroyed room, her face full of guilt. "I brought war to your home." He smiled softly. "You also brought purpose to it." Lumi sat up slowly, placing her hand on her chest. "There's something I never told you." John listened quietly. "I'm not just an alien girl," she said. "I'm the keeper." John frowned. "What does that mean?" Lumi took a deep breath. "When my people were being hunted, they placed everything, maps, codes, memories, language, even weapons inside me." She tapped her chest. "In here, locked in my cells, I carry the last hope of my kind." John's eyes widened. "You're like a living vault." She nodded. "Yes, but they didn't want a soldier. They wanted a child who could hide it." She looked down, ashamed. "I didn't even know how much was inside me until now." John stood and began pacing. "So the Varnak didn't just want you. They wanted what's hidden inside you." Lumi nodded slowly. "And they'll come again, in greater numbers." A long silence followed. John walked to the window, looking at the broken yard where ships had once hovered. "Then we can't stay here," he said at last. Lumi looked at him with tired eyes. "Where will we go?" He turned around, eyes sharp, to someone who might help. "You're not the only one keeping secrets." Lumi tilted her head. "You mean? You know others like me?" John opened a drawer and pulled out a faded photo for people in old military gear. Smiling, "I used to serve," he said. "We fought in things the world never heard about. We met creatures that never made the news." He pointed to a woman in the photo. "She owed me a favor. She said if I ever found something not of this world, to come find her." Lumi stood slowly, her strength returning. "Do you trust her?" John stared at the photo for a moment, then nodded. "With my life." Suddenly, Lumi's eyes widened. She clutched her chest. Gasping in pain, John rushed to her. "What's wrong?" Her voice cracked. "The lock inside me. It's breaking." A glow burst from her chest, blinding and fast. John stumbled back, shielding his eyes. When he looked again, a floating sphere had appeared above Lumi's heart. It pulsed with light, and inside it were symbols, star maps, and alien tech designs rotating in perfect harmony. Lumi whispered, "It's called the core. It's the heart of everything my people saved." Then beep, the core projected a red, blinking signal. John's stomach twisted. "What is that?" Lumi's voice dropped. "It means someone just found us." Far above Earth, deep in space, a signal blinked across an old satellite. A dark figure smiled and whispered, "She's awakened." The core hovered in the air, glowing like a second sun. Lumi stood beside it, her skin flickering with pulses of energy too powerful for one body. John could barely look at her now without feeling the heat in his chest. She was changing, becoming something beyond human, beyond alien. She was becoming what her people built her to be. But with that power came a message. A voice echoed from the corecold.com, "Ancient starborn guardian. You have awakened. Final transmission awaits." Accept and ascend. Lumi stood still, breathing slowly. John stepped forward, his voice gentle. "What does that mean?" She looked at him, and for a moment he saw the little girl again. The one who used to hum at the stars, draw glowing symbols on his floor. Oh, the one he raised like his own. "It means I can unlock everything," she said. "The core will fuse. With my mind, I'll carry the last knowledge of my people fully awakened." But what?" John asked, stepping closer. "But I won't be Lumi anymore," she whispered. "Not the Lumi you knew." The room went quiet. Only the soft hum of the core remained, like a heartbeat counting down. John felt a crack in his heart. "You'll forget me." She nodded, eyes full of sorrow. "The core needs control. Memory will fade, feelings will die." He clenched his jaw, looked away, then back at her. "Then don't do it. We'll run again, like before." But Lumi shook her head. "If I don't activate it, Earth will fall next. The Varnak won't stop. Not now." She stepped closer to John, taking his hand. "You gave me a home, love. You showed me kindness when I had nothing." Tears rolled down her cheek, glowing softly like stardust. "I don't want to forget you, but if this is the only way to protect you, I'll do it." John's hand tightened around hers. "I didn't raise a weapon, Lumi. I raised a heart." She smiled gently. "You raised both." Then the core spoke again. Final countdown initiated. 10, 9, 8. John's heart pounded. He looked at her one last time, memorizing her face. "Then remember this," he whispered. He leaned in and gently kissed her forehead. "You were loved." She closed her eyes and whispered, "So were you." 3, 2, 1. Core fusion began. A wave of light exploded outward, shaking the walls. The house vanished in the light, replaced by swirling energy. John fell to his knees, shielding his face, and then silence. When he opened his eyes, the core was gone. So was Lumi. Only the silver cloth remained on the floor, still warm, still glowing faintly. John sat there for hours, not speaking, not moving, just breathing. The next day, agents arrived once John had called using the old photo from the past. He didn't explain everything. He simply handed them the silver cloth and said, "She saved your world. Don't forget her." Weeks passed, then months. John rebuilt the house. Brick by brick, he planted a tree in the backyard, right where she first arrived. At night, he'd sit by the tree, looking at the stars. Sometimes, one of them would flicker twice soft, quiet, like a wink, and he'd smile. He didn't need proof. He didn't need sound. He knew. Somewhere out there, deep beyond stars and war and silence. She remembered, not because she had to, but because love leaves marks that even the universe can't erase.